To move the Green Amendment, Councillor Corbett.
Thanks, Lord Provost. This is the seventh budget speech I've made, and I can't really remember an occasion when the backdrop was quite as bleak. And we stand on the edge of a Brexit that three-quarters of this city rejected. We're pulled towards that edge by a shambolic UK government which has made this country a laughingstock. And I'll say in passing, Councillor White's comments about the impact of the budget in the city, in the context of a Tory Brexit that's taking billions from the Scottish economy and putting at risk tens of thousands of Scottish jobs, is just a bit rich. It's a debate that consumes all political space, and it's disfiguring the real priorities that we should have of a fairer economy and a livable planet. I'm sure lots of members in the Chamber feel a sense of sadness that I feel about the grudging, callous, uncaring country the UK appears to have become. Now, it's hard to find much to celebrate in the public finances either. The Scottish Government is reaping the harvest of a timid approach to public service funding and a wasted decade in which its every instinct has been to centralise and rob councils of the kind of fiscal freedom which is the norm throughout Europe. Now, thanks to the hard work of COSLA, working constructively with my Green MSP colleagues, long overdue reform is now in the horizon, but all those years lost to reform meantime are painful. Now, you have to look harder for optimism, and I find it in the young people who marched last week for a sustainable future, or the community groups who hold our neighbourhoods together, or the opportunities we have as a capital to lead the way as a sustainable city, if only we grasp that future. So, Lord Provost, within probably the tightest budget I can remember, we can still make choices which are good for Edinburgh, good for our future. And there's no bigger agenda than the climate emergency. The World Authority in Climate Science, the IPCC, which almost all councillors in here recognise as an unrivalled authority, has warned us that we have until 2030 to get our house in order. That's all of us, not just China, not just the USA, but here in Britain, in Scotland, in Edinburgh. So we can spend those 12 years, 11 years now, in two ways. We can get in the way of progress, or we can embrace the future, as Greens choose to do, to position Edinburgh in the vanguard of cities taking action. We can look forwards, or we can be stuck in the past. Now, fortunately, we have the report from Professor Andy Kerr of the Edinburgh Centre for Carbon Innovation to act as our guide. I believe that Professor Kerr has given us a real mandate for ambitious changes in energy, food, transport and waste, to name just some examples. The challenge now is turning that mandate into action. So that's why in our budget we've allocated almost £3 million over 4 years to a new climate emergency fund. Now, £3 million, of course, is only a drop in the ocean for the actual cost of transforming our city and economy, so it's largely about supporting the project capacity across teams and departments that Professor Kerr identified as needed and has outlined for us, to build a more resilient food market, to transform city transport, to develop energy-positive buildings, our homes, our workplaces and our schools. Now, Lord Provost, I want to just pick up on that mention of schools, because this time last year, and it remains a dominant theme of the budget debate, I'm glad progress has been made in the last year to give some shape to the Future Schools programme, but we need to complete the work for all the secondary schools which are waiting: Curry, Trinity and Craigmillar, and Liberton, Wester Hailes and Balerno. These schools can be the models of the sustainable buildings of the future and the community hubs that we need. So that's why in our budget we've fully allocated the revenue budget needed to raise the £7 to £8 million cost of borrowing to ensure that those schools are built. Now, compare that, Lord Provost, to the £42 million the Council pays every year for privately financed schools, equivalent to £1 in every £7 of council tax, or £182 for the average council taxpayer. Now, our budget equates to 12 pence a week for Band D council taxpayers, rising to 53p after 4 years. So investing in the schools is a choice we should take. Now, Lord Provost, there's so much more I could say about the Green Budget priorities. I'm pleased that we're keeping nursery teachers where they belong, which is in nurseries. I'm glad that we're maintaining sports grants and bringing Edinburgh leisure savings targets within a much more achievable reach. I'm pleased about our investment in family-based care, school meals, bicycle storage, advice, and much more besides. I know my colleague Councillor Miller will amplify much more in a moment about the additional investment we're proposing for care for older people and in homelessness, supporting our most vulnerable citizens. And yes, we are asking the people in the city to pay a little more, but we're also offering a lot more. And Lord Provost, we're the only group to place before the Council today a 4-year budget framework. Anyway, Lord Provost, I want to conclude by thanking Hugh Dunn and his staff and finance team, particularly our assigned finance officer, Fraser Rowson, and thank the staff and departments who have supplied us with insight and information, and also to councillor colleagues across all parties who we've always managed to have a civilised and constructive discussion about the budget, although perhaps it might not seem so today. To all of them, thanks. The priorities we've set out are our priorities, of course, our green priorities, to tackle the climate emergency head-on, to help our young people thrive, and to support our most vulnerable citizens. Good for Edinburgh, good for our future. Lord Provost, I move the Green Budget motion.